comments to get us rolling?
Actually, Joe, I asked the councilmember Dale and say something that I would like to reserve some time for the end.
Okay.
I already said it.
Yay. Mike?
Yes, I'd like to read into the record a statement from Texas Target Communities at Texas A&M University, who was the core group that helped us put together this plan. This is from Texas Target Communities. First, I want to make sure community members understand this plan was developed by a program that has state and national accolades for its professional work. We have all seen small communities across the state that struggle with the capacity and struggle to find the resources to hire consultants. Texas Target Communities is funded by our Texas Land Grant University to meet this need. In fact, professional consultants often refer communities that don't have the resources to our program. Graduate students at Texas A&M are led by nationally known experts and faculty members. Their work is highly scrutinized by Texas Target Communities professional staff that are certified planners. In our estimate, the program provides a win-win opportunity for students and communities alike. Additionally, the plan includes the planning integration for a resilient scoreboard, which is a new method used to understand inefficiencies across a community's network of plans. This method helps align plans that lack coordination and unintentionally exacerbate hazard vulnerabilities. This method is now being adopted by the American Planning Association, which will develop training modules for consultants and cities to use across the United States. Ultimately, this method used for this plan is about smart, practical planning that saves taxpayer dollars for efficient use of capital improvement project funds. We have received awards from our state and other national associations for the work. Here are just a few of the awards received in the last few years. A Gold Planning Achievement Award in Implementation from the Texas Chapter of American Planning Association for Texas A&M University, Nolanville, with small town implementation through democracy in action. An Association of Public and Land Grant Universities recognized Texas A&M University as exemplary designs for outstanding community engagement efforts in 2021. The American Planning Association Texas Chapter Student Project Award, Texas A&M University 2020, Comprehensive Plan, Rural Planning following Hurricane Harvey 2020. A Silver Award in Resilience Planning from the Texas Chapter of American Planning Association for the Rockport Comprehensive Plan 2019. A Silver Award in Resilience Planning from the American Planning Association for Liberty County Strategic Plan. Current Planning Award from the Texas Chapter of American Planning Association for the Liberty County Strategic Plan. Second, our approach to the planning process is open and inclusive to the public. Everything in this plan has come from input from your community, from meetings, and informed by data. It does not serve us to develop a plan that sits on a shelf. We strive to put on paper what we hear from the community. Plans are not conservative or liberal, but practical. This practical plan is in line with existing policies and community feedback. Community members may be hard-pressed to find a consultant that would have provided the same kind of engagement approach or provided at-the-elbow support we have to the city over the years. This is important to us, and we stand firm in our process. Third, the consequences of not having a plan can be significant. When you do not have a plan in place, the result is whatever the developer of the property wants. That could be noxious business or land uses such as liquor stores, polluters, or others. There are a number of communities we have worked with that have come to us after such experience, having wished they had planned sooner. We can refer folks to such communities to learn about these stories. As a Texan every day, I'm honored to serve communities across this great state, and we are deeply committed to this program, to the importance of planning and the rural and small communities we serve. Thank you for inviting us into your community to serve. Sincerely, Jamie Masterson, proud member of the Fighting Texas Aggie Class of 06. Once again, this is from Texas Target Communities, which is the core group that helped us with this plan. But they were not the only ones. We had professionals from all over the United States, from the American Planning Association. We had members of Texas Tech University, Agricultural Landscape Committee that helped us with this plan, as well as many others, and countless members of our own community put their time and effort into this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So we have quite a list here of those who are non-speakers who I am going to read their statements, and then we will move on to
It's the mixed use
Thank you.
designation.
Just went
It's the
right out of my
mixed use
head.
designation in South Rockport and along the Fulton Beach Road corridor closest to the Park Road subdivision. Those are the two biggest points of contention.
Right, and those have been removed, correct?
Those will be removed from the future land use map. That is correct.
So just so everyone understands
Point of
that.
order. Those aren't the two biggest. Point of order.
Well, sir, I'm gonna go down the list here. We're gonna read these comments, then we will allow the citizens to be heard who have signed up to be heard. Thank you. And there are quite a few, so bear with us. The first is Tommy Williams, and his comment is, I am opposed to the current comprehensive plan. I am opposed to mixed use. I am opposed to co-living. I am opposed to rezoning in or adjacent to existing R1 to R6 residential. Protect our trees, wetlands, and wildlife. I moved to Rockport to retire. Already some of the charm of the city is starting to disappear. Protect Rockport charm. Vote no. If this plan is approved, you will lose many residents who love Rockport just the way it is. Thank you. 445 Augusta Drive. I am opposed to the adoption of the current comprehensive plan and any type of rezoning within the current plan. It is stated in 2016, over 65% of vacant housing was vacation or short-term rentals. Continuing this type of development drives up the price of housing, challenging the development of affordable housing for full-time residents. It is also stated that Rockport's average household income was $47,865. According to HUD, this means the average cost of housing should be no more than $1,156 a month. We all know that is not the average cost of housing in Rockport, which means we do not have affordable housing. Before Harvey, 2 of our schools needed improvement, according to the Texas Education Agency. Due to a lack of affordable housing, school enrollment has dropped. This, combined with the Robin Hood Act, has diminished our school's budget to the point where a marketer has been hired by the ISD to help increase enrollment. Our infrastructure is failing. Despite all of this, the proposed plan seems to focus on refurbishing downtown and providing other tourist amenities. Providing tax abatements to developers does not equate to affordable housing as suggested in the plan, as the newest development does not offer housing at a rate at or less than $1,156 monthly. I had expected my elected officials to make decisions based on what is best for the majority of residents, not on what is best for the few. I feel plans for rezoning need to come to an immediate halt, and this plan needs to be redone, making the residents looking to return the priority. This plan should focus on affordable housing, basic infrastructure, and funding our schools before we start talking about bike lanes, more RV parks, and zoning for cottages and strip malls, which will only bring in minimum wage jobs. We have Kimberly Kate at 202 Highland Street in Rockport. I am against many items in this plan, which I will list at the end of my statement. Before we think about this plan, we need to address serious issues with our infrastructure of drainage and flooding, water treatment, sewage, and roads, just to mention a few items. I am against mixed use, co-living, and no rezoning adjacent to current residential areas. Keep Rockport small. This is why I am here. Most of us don't want to lose our beautiful oak trees to development. Protect our wetlands and wildlife. Listen to the citizens. Don't vote with your pocket. Vote with your heart. Thank you. We have Daniel Carpenter at 445 Moore integrity, friends, family, and consideration for people. Those very people we helped out and relied upon after the hurricane. My family, my friends, my people have not been represented properly over these last couple of years. There is no place for the people that are needed to support the community to live in other than these trailer parks that are constantly popping up everywhere we look. I have reviewed in the new zoning proposals, they do not treat all citizens fairly. It does in fact support the creation of more lower wage paying businesses and more areas to build housing that is not what the local population can afford. The plan does resemble what was done in Port Aransas that created such a tourist environment that the people needed to support the town cannot afford to live there. I do not believe we can just do a blanket rezoning that will be best for each individual area. Each small neighborhood has its own needs and concerns, the needs of citizens, not the businessmen. 29 Lauderdale. I am supporting the city of Rockport to adopt a comprehensive master plan. It is time for us to work together for the future of our city. Lynn Towers at 66 Blue Heron Drive. I appreciate the city taking the initiative and initiating a long-term comprehensive master plan. It is forward-thinking and appropriate to take this step. While I may not agree with each suggestion or initiative in the plan, I wholeheartedly support having the plan. I understand it has already received acclaim. As I understand it, the citizens and council will still be allowed to vote on any single zoning changes, so there is no need to debate that now. I hope as residents of Rockport, we start pulling together on the big issues. We can have different opinions on certain aspects of the plan, but those can be debated and voted upon when the time comes. Let's not throw out a great plan for a single zoning issue that we do not agree on today. Let's move forward on a comprehensive plan. Lynn Powell. Fulton, 201 Spanish Woods Drive. I am encouraging the city of Rockport to adopt the comprehensive plan 2020 to 2040. Excuse me, as I understand, this is an evergreen plan that can grow and change with us as we grow and change. A lot of effort was put into the development of this plan by many residents, including young adults, senior citizens, business owners, and community organization members. Everyone who participated in the development of this plan did so at a time when they themselves were rebuilding their lives and homes after Hurricane Harvey. Please do not discount the time, effort, and sacrifice made by these people. We need this for resources and the future of the beautiful place we get to live. Thank you. I have Lyndall Crushaw, apologize for mispronunciation, 1702 FM 3036, number 3202. My husband and I moved here in August 2020 because my husband now works in Rockport. We had a home in another city that we recently sold because we have decided to remain in Rockport. We are currently renting an apartment in town and hope to someday purchase a permanent residence. We enjoy the small town feel, but also appreciate the many locations to eat, shop, hike, bike, and enjoy the beach. It is obvious that the town is growing, and this plan seems to address all issues that will come along with that growth. Jacqueline McCrae, 2511 Turkey Neck Circle. I am in support of the comprehensive plan for Rockport. I live in Rockport and have a business downtown on South Austin Street. I also attended many meetings during 2018. I agree with most of the plan as I believe that it would improve our wee city and make it great for visitors and residents. I want my voice heard as I do have an invested interest in Rockport, as I do have a business in Rockport. The people that are spreading this information about this plan, majority of them do not have any business in the downtown area. Why they are doing this is beyond me. I worked hard to get my business up and running after the hurricane. Then we have a pandemic and the hard freeze. Now we are dealing with people trying trying to stop progress. How dare they? We have Diane Probst at 605 Bentree Street. Consideration for inclusion in the plan. 1, page 109. Consider adding photo of hummingbirds at a feeder with this text under the photo. Thousands of hummingbirds flock to Rockport to tank up before going across the Gulf of Mexico. In the wildlife section following this sentence, the migrating birds bring in numerous tourists year-round, which helps boost the city's economy. Consider adding, every September, thousands of visitors come to witness the peak of fall migration of all birds, but specifically to see the large numbers of ruby-throated hummingbird. 2, page 112. Consider adding photo and text under the photo. The ruby-throated hummingbird migration in the fall has led to an overall awareness of the importance of preserving habitat and planting native plants to attract hummingbirds. Local residents do their part by placing feeders in their backyards with homemade nectar to assist in the hummingbird frenzy. 3, page 142. Consider adding text of 2 very important events held during a slow economic period. Hummingbird celebration. This more than 30-year-old event brings in thousands of visitors to enjoy the fall migration of birds with an emphasis on the ruby-throated hummingbird. It is held in the 3rd week in September when the migration is at its peak. There are field trips, boat trips, vendor malls, lectures, banding demonstrations, photography sessions, and the popular Hummer Home Tour backyards. This event is a great example of ecotourism where a natural resource helps boost the economy. Rockport Fulton Seafair. The 2nd weekend of October is a nearly 50-year-old festival bringing tourists in from all parts of Texas. This month is an ordinarily slow tourist month. The festival helps the local economy as well as local nonprofit organizations as they raise funds for needed projects. It is held along Rockport Harbor and features a carnival parade, food vendors, arts and crafts, market vendors, contests, boat and car show, and more. Haley Skiing at 1811 Harbor Drive, number 12B. I graduated from Rockport Fulton High School and really enjoy living in Rockport. I am in support of the plan because I see our town growing, but also see so many people walking and biking around town. Knowing that most of these people are doing that because they do not have transportation should be of concern for our city leaders. I am not able to afford a home in Rockport, but would like to eventually. I know that plan addresses what they call workforce housing, which is great for those of us who cannot afford the current home prices in Rockport. I like the idea of a mixed-use neighborhoods where we can shop, eat, and live within walking distance. I've also read that the tree ordinance will be strengthened and flooding will be addressed. Many people work on this plan and I support it. Robin White at 1510 Newbird Lane. I strongly oppose the adoption of the comprehensive plan for Rockport. I have lived in numerous small communities in several states, and Rockport is in a category by itself. It is truly a special place. The thought of having mixed-use land use is appalling. The idea of high-density co-living developments is appalling. Why destroy Rockport so we can be like large towns? Why force Rockport into a situation where we would be at the mercy of developers who do not live here, who only want to make money, and do not care about our quality of life? We already have tremendous problems with flooding and traffic. I live just a short distance from the intersection of Live Oak and Enterprise. The flooding there a couple of weeks ago was horrible. Now I understand the shopping center is being built on that corner. How much more will that contribute to the flooding? Do you realize how much worse the traffic will be? And that is just one example of why this comprehensive plan is a terrible idea for Rockport. Why not take care of the people of this town first? Why not focus on infrastructure? Why not preserve what makes this town special? Thank you, Robin Wright. Eloy De Leon from 603 South Burn Street. I am concerned with the proposal for mixed rezoning. Since Hurricane Harvey, property taxes have dramatically increased, and we are just overburdened with taxation. Matthew McCauley at 130 Marion Drive. I oppose all mixed-use rezoning in the comprehensive plan. The city is not being transparent about what this means and where in the city limits these mixed-use areas will be. Debbie Griffith, 107 Bufflehead Lane. I've come to Rockport since the early 60s, love this city, but am worried about our direction. I retired here 3 years ago after building a home 5 years ago that was badly damaged by Harvey. As a certified Texas master naturalist, I'm concerned that the new plan does not do enough to protect our habitat, trees, wetlands, natural drainage areas, shoreline, birds, and animals. Why doesn't the plan do more to protect and promote our strengths? It's bad enough that Steel Dynamics is going to dump over 1.5 million gallons of treated water into Coconut Bay and destroy that wonderful ecosystem dependent on salt water at certain percentages. It will negatively impact our fishing activity. Likewise, developers with big money will come in and do and say all the right things to get a permit, but not so innocent oopsies will happen, and we won't do anything about it because it takes a lot of staff to monitor and enforce. We need a very strong tree ordinance to prevent the annihilation of our trees and the understory that serves as food, protection, shelter, roosting, and more for our plants, animals, birds, and more. I recall hearing that the environmental department was to make sure that one tree was planted for every X trees destroyed. Well, that isn't happening. What we don't need is more storage units, RV parks, CBD stores, convenience stores that always look trashy, and riffraff coming in asking for handouts, doing drugs and stealing. We don't want to be a Port A. Under this plan, you will have little control over zoning and the final result of what is brought in. Grandfather existing R1 to R6 residential zones, reassess and refine the plan. Zoning laws can break a community. This reminds me of Fulton Beach Road project, trying to pass something outdated that needs revisiting from everyone, professionals, business leaders, and residents. Irene Debika at 1108 South Austin Street. The comprehensive plan draft presented to the public last week for a joint hearing still needs revision. It cannot be approved until after the changes required by concerned homeowners and taxpayers are made and resubmitted after public review. Your second draft of the comprehensive plan is much better than your first. This is particularly true after your future land use map, page 40, was greatly improved by deleting the huge threat of mixed-use commercialization of South Rockport. Actual existing single-family land uses, which are more accurately coded by ACAD in the city, especially in Dowdy and Mathis, blocks 27 and 33, need to be preserved for the area to be sustainable. This is particularly true near the constantly flooding streets and properties along the coast. The city should enable continued construction of single and second family housing in that entire area. Furthermore, the city should encourage development of stilt-built homes in South Rockport because they are the most resilient type of housing for our flood plan and already overburdened and eroding Aransas Bay coast. Family homes built on tall pilings are also most resilient to windstorm and can more easily pass TWIA inspection. The The city and/or county should purchase any low-lying empty lots for conversion into retention ponds and below sea level reservoirs to supplement the work of 6 pumps that drain stormwater and high tide flooding in our area, often slowly over hours or days. However, the text in the second draft still needs cleaning up to match the revised map. Mixed-use notions and any of their remnant associations with south of downtown, i.e. South Rockport, need to be deleted on pages 65 to 66, 25, 26, and 104. Several other residential neighborhoods in Rockport are still painted blue. You need to change them to yellow on the map as well. Mixed-use notions were plagiarized from urban planning exercises for large cities, inland, and are dangerous and inappropriate for a small waterfront town such, I assume she means as Rockport.
As an email, and it was from
Maddie Boyd?
Maggie Ford. No address provided. She lives on Harbor, also in Lakeview. All. Contrary to what I've been told by Warren Hassinger and what was stated at the council meeting, I'm sure it was Ruth and Donahoe, the comprehensive plan is not just a guideline on a roadmap to keep us on the straight and narrow. Read your own plan. The very first action item states 3.1.1.1 revise and amend zoning ordinance in accordance with the recommendation indicated in this plan. The CP will become legally binding. The citizens are the ones who will have to pay for it, not only in taxes, but in quality of life. Please see the statute, Texas Local Government Code, section 211.004, compliance with comprehensive plan. The CP needs to be dramatically revised before approving. The mixed-use designation needs to be removed in its entirety from this document. As stated by the City Secretary Teresa Valdez, the city does not have a list of streets in the current future land use plan. It is reckless to identify large swaths of land as mixed use, and then the city can't even identify the areas by street. The reference to the tree obstacles needs to be removed. Is the city planning to remove these obstacles? The tree in question is not even identified correctly. The reference to a co-living needs to be removed just on the basis of being ridiculous. We're not in college anymore. Large housing projects don't work. Look up Pruitt Ego. This is supposed to be the future of our low-income housing. It didn't work. It is obvious when reading the CP that is developed by the people who are not familiar with the area and or small town life. It was developed with very little input from the citizens. Plan developers don't even seem to be aware of what draws people to the Rockport area: fishing, birding, beach, the art, the beauty, and charm of small Texas community. We like to advertise that we are the art colony of this plan. It wants to cover our peninsula with high-density housing. What are people coming here to pay?
Warren, excuse me, we can't hear you in the back.
Yeah.
Is this any better?
Yeah.
Sorry. We like to advertise that we are an art colony, and this plan wants to cover our peninsula with high-density housing. What are the people coming here to paint? Not the courthouse, not the city hall.
When you look down, that's when we can't hear you.
This plan does nothing to help preserve coastal wetlands in our shoreline or the bay system. Does that work?
Thank
Thank you. We need to protect our environment, not only allow developers special considerations such as smaller setbacks, smaller lot sizes, smaller unit sizes, etc. This will only stress our delicate ecosystem. Let's work within,
Mary,
let's work within the zoning laws we have. The city council,
Look, keep going, Warren, because you got interrupted.
yeah, the city council and planning and zoning board need to act responsibly and not pass the buck to the state and federal government when it comes to protecting our community and our environment. Please just say no in the comprehensive plan. Next is from Ms. Elizabeth Regret.
Can you switch mics? Because
Yeah, I think it's Mike.
I think it's your mic.
Is any better?
Yes.
Is it too much? All right, okay.
Thank you.
Next one is Elizabeth Regret, 1053 North Allen Street. Speakers,
At the end of this?
at the end of this, your ones.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're allowing everyone, oh, you're saying to skip this?
She likes to speak.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's fine, we'll skip it, no problem. Okay, thank you.
can't hear it. Next is Carol Wood, 114 Bufflehead Lane. Hi, I live in Houston. I lived in Houston for many years where zoning is non-existent. You have a business next to a farm with cows and chickens, struggling to keep the farm together. The city of Rockport's comprehensive plan is pushed through. Soon there will be a convenience store on all corners. The prices of oak trees will be plowed down indiscriminately. Established residential neighborhood in Middle Rockport are targeted for mixed-use development. With mixed-use rezoning, homes will be surrounded with commercialism or maybe even an industrial complex. Mixed use is the same as no zoning, it's dangerous. With HUD funding under an administration with an agenda, it could abolish R1 residential zoning in the city of Rockport. Mixed-use zoning will be the developer's choice and bring investors, many from outside the area who don't care about our way of life, can hold a gun to the city's head demanding rezoning of residential neighborhood in virtually all R1 to R6 residential neighborhoods in the city of Rockport. No mixed use in the comprehensive plan. No co-living in the comprehensive plan. No tax abatements in the comprehensive plan that serve to incentivize developers to sue the city of Rockport for rezoning of existing R1 to R6 residential zones. No rezoning in the comprehensive plan in or adjacent to R1 to R6 residential zones. Grandfathering all R1 to R6 residential zones. Protect our oak trees, protect our wetlands, protect our floodplains, protect our shorelines. Thank you. From John Heffron, lives in the country club. Yeah, this is Mr. Heffron's statement. There seems to be confusion about what a comprehensive plan is and how it can be used. The CP is a long-range planning tool for citizens, the city council, city staff, and other decision makers such as P&Z Commission to guide the growth and fiscal development of the community in the future. As new development, zoning requests, and other development decisions are made, the CP helps ensure orderly, coordinated growth. Determining what land uses are appropriate within the city and where such land uses should be located helps protect the integrity of the city's neighborhoods and corridors. Ultimately, coordinated land use provides help to protect private property by maintaining and enhancing value and protecting property from incompatible uses. Texas has laws regarding the ways the city can ensure the health, safety, and welfare of citizens. State law gives the city power to regulate the use of the land, but only if there is a CP. Authority of the city to create a CP is the local government code. Chapter 211 allows the city to regulate zoning and requires zoning to be in conformance with a comprehensive plan. If the city does not have a comprehensive plan, it cannot have zoning ordinances and make zoning decisions. Chapter 212 allows the city to regulate subdivision developments within a city limits. Finally, Chapter 213 allows the city to create a comprehensive plan for the long-range development of the city. It is important to note that comprehensive plan is not a zoning ordinance. Comprehensive plan provisions serve as one factor on which zoning decisions are made. Some have asserted that the comprehensive plan, if adopted, will constitute rezoning and will be absolutely binding on the city. This is simply not true. The claim is not the law in Texas. No matter how many times or how reliably or how different ways this belief is stated, it does not make it true. There's been a claim that developers will use a comprehensive plan as a weapon and force the city's hand in future rezoning and development decisions, making reference to Sunnyvale, Texas case. In Sunnyvale, the landowner wanted a large residential development approved and the city turned down the plans. The city was sued in the state court in the late 1980s. The landowner did not attempt to use Sunnyvale's comprehensive plan, among other arguments. We don't stop. Next is from Daryl Searcher, 185 Terrace Lane. I'm against the proposed comprehensive development plan that is being developed and considered for adoption. I have recently invested a considerable amount of money into a home in Rockport. I chose to invest this money into my new home because of the stability of the nearby and surrounding area of single-family zoning. If the proposed plan has the ability to redefine the current zoning and change, this thing just go together.
That's it now.
There's another one right next to you.
Try that. It's cutting on now.
Does this any better?
Yes.
Because of the stability of the nearby and surrounding area of single-family zoning. If the proposed plan has the ability to undermine the current zoning and change to a mixed use or multifamily, this will do nothing but drive my home value down and my taxes up. Rockport does not have the infrastructures to support this type of endless development. Focus on what your current issues are and support the citizens you currently have to make their lives better. Otherwise, you're going to drive out your tax base and you'll be left with nothing but a broken city on government welfare. Now's the time to be Rockport strong, get past this plan that is bad for the city. Thank you for your time. Holzman, 338 Spanish Woods Drive. I attended a couple of roundtables where citizens were given time to ask questions, offer input. I believe the city needs a plan and that this plan is not written in stone but is, over time, alterable as circumstances change. In other words, it's a good start to outline means of growth for what we hope to become a thriving community wherein people want to live, work, and rear a family. There will always be detractors to change and growth as there are now, but without input and discussion, there is no progress. This is email from Randy Bash. No address. A scanned comprehensive report. I agree with most all suggestions. I praise those who have taken on the task. I do not see anything in the report pertaining to installing the sewage and protecting the existing homes within the city limits. My home is on South Guardian, just north of Bay Street. We were annexed a few years ago. At that time, I attended the last meeting, asked if we would ever see sewage and then draining The answer was no. I hope that's changed. It provides a cell phone number. I hope you haven't, I know you have much on your plate. It would, if you would forward this to the correct person, my neighbors, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you again for all you do. Next is from Rick Smith, 131 Pecan Harbor Street. My name is Rick Smith. I've lived in Rockport for 9 years. I serve on the Zoning Board of Adjustment and Storm Water Management Commission. I commend the city for their efforts in establishing a comprehensive guide for future development. In my opinion, the city has done their due diligence in utilizing expertise from quality sources that we do not have on staff, as well as including community meetings for input to the plan. With the destruction experienced by Hurricane Harvey, guiding the rebuilding of our community in a manner that is responsible, of good quality, and respects the vision of our community is imperative. A comprehensive plan does not replace our planning and zoning ordinance. It serves as a guide and support to help those responsible for making decisions about future development to be consistent and responsible. It would be a mistake to believe that this plan would supersede our zoning ordinances. Project developers would still be required to meet zoning requirements and appear before the boards and commissions to approve their plans. Citizens would continue to be able to voice their concerns at each step in the review process. I ask that you adopt this plan because it is necessary to guide responsible and consistent growth in our city. In addition, I would ask each member of this council to reach out and include your constituents in your respective wards. Seek additional input from those who are in favor and against, and find a way to address these concerns. As citizens of Rockport, we should all want plans such as this to make our community a better charm of the Texas coast. Next is from Kathy Snyder, 135 Marion Drive. No statement.
If you look at the bottom of the front page, you might go support.
Oh, okay. It's important.
Oh, she's in support, okay. She's in support of the plan, okay. Next is Nancy Fulton, 201 Spanish Woods Drive.
She's a speaker.
Ms. Fulton here? Okay. We're gonna do those again, is that correct?
You wanted to speak rather than have your statement?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna skip some.
We're gonna skip that, okay. Julia Mason. In opposition, and she says,
That she's got a PO box in Kansas Pass. I mean, you can read it, but she's not from, so.
okay. I'll strongly oppose this one. Diana Coleman, 315 East Sagebrush. Please do not change zoning to mixed zoning. Next is Diana Smith, Pardue, 1809 Hillcrest, number 401. She's in support, and she says, I'm supporting the mixed use in the downtown area. Next is Jatine Baca, 2921 Highway 35 North, in support. Next is Donna Townsend, 439 Augusta Drive, in support. She says much needed. Next is Steve Davis, in support. Sorry about that. Steve Davis, 2006 Johnson, he's in support. Everything said. Mark Hagan, 604 Silverado Street, in opposition. I've lived in a walkable community most of my adult life, not really by choice, but necessity. Most military bases are by design walkable communities. However, very few, if any, fulfill the intent. Therefore, most people choose to travel off days to shop, eat, find entertainment, etc. A walkable community creates a monopoly business environment whereby the business has a captive audience and pricing is set based on convenience. Higher prices for good entertainment, etc. drives the people to shop away from the community, hence making the initial intent null and void. If you're trying to decrease the tourist traffic by having amenities closer by, consider this. There is no mass transit available to our community requiring tourists to drive here, and most will continue to use their car, again making the initial concept null and void. The next step will likely be empty commercial space due to lack of support, etc., resulting in the loss of our small town feel and coastal charm. Look around town. How many retail spaces are empty? This is really what we want for our town. Is this really what we want for our town? I certainly don't. Next is Patricia Martin, 20 Kathleen Drive. In support, I support the comprehensive master plan. William F. McCray, 2511 Turkey Neck Circle. In support. I'm in support of the comprehensive plan for Rockport. I'm a resident and my wife owns a business on South Austin Street. Next is Luis Barone, 139 Heron Oaks. In support. I support adoption of a master plan for the city of Rockport that takes into account the suggestions and input provided by the citizens of Rockport in all sectors of our community. This is from Michaela Alston, and she didn't provide an address. I believe she lives on Trailer Street. My name is Michaela Alston. I'm a resident in Ward 3 and also Vice President of the ACISD School Board. Since I'm one of 7 trustees, I cannot speak on behalf of the board, so I'm here tonight as a resident who is strongly opposed to both proposed comprehensive plan and the proposed tax increase. Both are sensitive topics to the local community and to the school district. The comprehensive plan encourages our elected officials to create an efficient, equitable, safe, and sustainable community. If you as a city council member approve the proposed comprehensive plan as it is written, you're not creating any of those. You're continuing to cater to the needs and wants of our tourists. The Chamber has done a fabulous job of promoting Rockport. They have put us on the map, and the tourists will continue to come and visit Rockport as the coastal gem it is today. Developing the Rockport based off the current 3 scenarios presented in the comprehensive plan will put the locals of Rockport looking for affordable housing in our neighboring areas. With the loss of these families comes the loss of students that are enrolled in ACISD. Losing these students will continue to raise the recapture rate known as Robin Hood that ACISD has to pay to the state each year using local taxpayer dollars. Which brings me to my next topic of tax rate increase. I'm strongly opposed to consideration of a tax increase. As I understand it, tonight's vote is to give our tax assessor the ability to run the numbers at 83% to see what the city can possibly receive from this possible tax increase. I believe the state's intent for the ability to increase the tax rate this much without voter approval.
Excuse me, Mark.
Yes, sir. And this is, the rest of this is school as well.
I believe that's what she read.
It is exactly what you read, yeah. There's 2 more.
Sure.
Next one is Shannon Rader, 703 South Burn Street. In support. I support the comprehensive plan for the city of Rockport. Connie Masters, your address.
She was Dr. Masterson, led the A&M group.
Is that what?
Is this what you just read, Mike?
Is it the one from Texas Target Communities?
Looks like
Yeah.
he just read it.
Understand the plan that was developed?
That's Jim Masters. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's in the,
it's in there.
That's it. You have a good comment to return it to the.
I have a couple more. I have, from Doug Webb.
Today, I am asking you to not move forward with a comprehensive plan. The plan was drafted between August 2018 and June 2019. The last time the plan was discussed was in a meeting just prior to the shutdown of all city offices. Those meeting notes, and in fact, all the meeting notes from 2018 to 2020 are not available on the webpage. So we don't have an accessible record of what happened in those meetings or who attended. What we have is a document that is filled with ideas that were brainstormed by students, faculty, government employees, and some citizens. What we have is a set of public meetings held 4 times over the course of 11 months. The other 6 meetings were held with government, elected officials, and special interest groups. What we have is a plan that is not representative of this community, a community who is very focused on trying to return to life post-Harvey. I reviewed the draft last March and was appalled at what I saw. As an elected official in Sunnyvale, Texas, I participated in updating a comprehensive plan. And in this plan, today, I see random ideas that are out of place for Rockport. The city manager was quoted in Saturday's pilot saying it's not a perfect plan. It has to be really addressed on a regular basis. I suggest you listen to the city manager and readdress it now. Remove mixed use, it doesn't belong here. Remove co-living, we are not a college town. Put in place guidelines that require developers to protect natural habitats and wetlands. Put in requirements that mitigate storm runoff. Prioritize infrastructure needs. Protect current residents and their homes. Don't downzone areas contiguous to current residential neighborhoods. Developers will use this plan for undesirable change and growth. It is a guiding guideline for how the city plans to grow. I know the impact from personal experience as elected in Sunnyvale. Understand this plan will change your landscape. It is a starting point for all conversations between staff and developers. Do the right thing and recommend council develop a plan that represents Rockport.
Gentlemen, what did we get out of last council meeting? There were about 50 citizens present. Wish that I had counted, but there were quite a few that spoke, and also quite a few had their concerns read by the mayor. All were very negative about the 10-year plan. There are many on Facebook that are against the plan. It's easy to be brave on Facebook, but it does show the negativity. Not one citizen spoke for the plan in person or on Facebook. This thing is like the national budget, and no one knows all that is in it, and many things are written that would not pass alone. It sounds pretty, but with the length and complexity, there are items that are not good for the citizens but benefit the special interest groups. Unless you have read and fully understand every paragraph and agree with every item, you should not vote for it. The right thing to do is to have public input to make each item understood and clearly written, and then each separate item to be read and each voted on separately. I am sure that somewhere there is precedent to vote on, as my little boy used to say, the whole bunch of it. That might make it legal, but does not make it right. Very likely, this is the most important document that you will be presented with during your time as city council member, except for the elder and most experienced of the group, Mr. Villa. He may have been there when they voted to have electricity in the city. This is why we, the city and the citizens, are so upset. For sure, many of the concerns are not understood by the public and when explained, they would want it. However, unless you read, understand, and agree with each item, I am requesting each council person do as you swore to do when you accepted office, and that is to represent the best interests of the citizens of Rockport. That, in our opinion, is to halt all progress in passing any part of this plan that had not been gone through item by item and fully understood and accepted by you fully, believing that you are doing what is best for the citizens of Rockport. Thank you for your time and service. I totally know what a huge amount of work that this will require, but it is the right thing to do, and that is why you get the big bucks. As I was trying to say, as the mayor was reaching for the hook to drag me off the speaker's platform, this plan has been in process for 18 months, back in January of 2020. At this time, many are still recovering from Harvey. I know that I am. As I recall, it was about February of 2020 that the COVID virus appeared in the U.S. There were so many opinions, information, false information going on around, and nobody Campus Sergeant, 214 Portia Avenue. I'd like to thank the Rockport citizens that brought this to our attention. I believe their concerns are very valid concerns. I also like the following from Christy Rutledge. No mixed use in the comprehensive plan, no co-living in the comprehensive plan. This is not the 60s. Absolutely no tax abatement period in the comprehensive plan that could serve to incentivize developers to sue the city of Rockport for rezoning of existing R1 to R6 residential zones. Grandfather in all existing R1 and R6 residential zones. Protect our oak trees, protect our wetlands, protect our floodplains, protect our shoreline, protect our Rockport way of life. This is from Jennifer Shaw. She'll see an address.
Mrs. Shaw.
She's here?
Yeah, I'm here, you can skip me.
Okay. This is all stapled together, so I assume that is you. Okay. Moving forward. We'll start with the citizens that wish to be heard. Again, thank you for your patience and your respectful understanding. So again, you'll get 3 minutes, and when you hear the horn, that's the end. We're going to start with Kathy Kane at 109 Boardwalk Avenue.
So Kathy Payne.
Yeah.
Dawn.
Well, we can,
Okay.
hear her back there.
Not really.
Not really? Okay.
Speak up.
I do speak up. All right, I'm short. Okay, today,
You can move it down.
have we Okay, there we go. Better?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm getting my tiptoes. All right, today I'm asking you to not move forward.
Have to get real close to it.
Today, I am asking you to not move forward with a comprehensive plan. The plan was drafted between August 2018 and June 2019. The last time the plan was discussed was in a meeting just prior to the shutdown of all city offices. Those meeting notes, and in fact, all the meeting notes from 2018 to 2020 are not available on the webpage. So we don't have an accessible record of what happened in those meetings or who attended. What we have is a document that is filled with ideas that were brainstormed by students, faculty, government employees, and some citizens. What we have is a set of public meetings held 4 times over the course of 11 months. The other 6 meetings were held with government, elected officials, and special interest groups. What we have is a plan that is not representative of this community. A community who is very focused on trying to return to life host Harvey. I reviewed the draft last month and was appalled at what I saw. As an elected official in Sunnyvale, Texas, I participated in updating a comprehensive plan. And in this plan, today, I see random ideas that are out of place for Rockport. The city manager was quoted in Saturday's pilot saying it's not a perfect plan. It has to be really addressed on a regular basis. I suggest you listen to the city manager and readdress it now. Remove mixed use, it doesn't belong here. Remove co-living, we are not a college town. Put in place guidelines that require developers to protect natural habitats and wetlands. Put in requirements that mitigate storm runoff. Prioritize infrastructure needs. Protect current residents and their homes. Don't downzone areas contiguous to current residential neighborhoods. Developers will use this plan to force undesirable change and growth. It is a guiding guideline for how the city plans to grow. I know the impact from personal experience as elected in Sunnyvale. Understand this plan will change our landscape. It is a starting point for all conversations between staff and developers. Do the right thing and recommend council develop a plan that represents Rockport.
Nancy Bolton, 201 Stanishwoods Drive. I participated in the drafting of this plan amongst other residents throughout the community. And as Kathy stated, we started in June of 2018. We had public sessions that month. We had public sessions in November of 2018. We had public sessions 2 days for the downtown area, where the downtown merchants got to meet and discuss their wants and needs and desires for that area. We had another public session meeting in March of 2019. We had another one in April of 2019, and we had another one on the 25th of 2019. All of these were open to the public. They were throughout town in areas that we hoped that people would attend. They were in the evening sessions. There was one large one at the high school. We had interpreters, we had babysitters. We had a large turnout at that particular session. We had lots of interested citizens that came to these meetings. I will say this, having attended all of those meetings, I do not recall the faces or input of any of these people that have now come forward after the fact to state that they do not like this plan. Do I agree with everything in the plan? I don't. I also know it's a living document. I also know that it's one of the things that we need in our city. We need to update what we have. To scratch it and start over is not, it's not a viable option. A lot of people spend a lot of time on this. They are experts in their field. They took what we asked for, old and young, and they applied it to this plan. I will say to those that say that it doesn't have a lot of these things that they're wanting, in the recommendation area of each one of these sections, it says the more robust tree ordinance. I think everybody wants to save their trees, and it does recommend that. Revitalize the downtown area. It has a beautiful plan recommended by a lot of the store owners down there. Flood mitigation. It is part of the plan. Growth map options. It gave us options of what we might see if we chose those particular options. It's not locked in. It's giving us an option. The infrastructure. There is recommendations about infrastructure and how to stop some of the flooding. Transportation. I don't know about you guys, but we see a lot of people that walk around town, ride their bikes. There are employers that have to pick up their employees because there's no way to get around. And lastly, the wetlands. All of this is in this plan. So if you read it from front to back and look at the recommendations, all of those were things that the people that participated, the many, many people that spent over a year's worth of time, actually gave their voice and didn't wait till the end to try and tear it down.
Are you in support or opposed?
Well, I think you definitely need a general plan. I think it's very important because any zoning change you do has to be informed by the general plan. So I think it's important to do it right, but I would want to see residential reduced at all, wetland reduced at all, the coastline reduced at all, the trees. If anybody wants to do mixed use, they can do it in some of this vacant commercial.
Thank you. Candace Sargent, I read your statement. Did you were up here, signed up to speak?
No, I just wanted to read.
Okay. Keith Allen, 129 South Rockport.
I'm actually considered an expert in developing documents for big businesses. I spent years making a single set of documents that will generate safe practices, standard operating procedures, and things of that nature. So I read your entire comprehensive plan. It's a decent document. It's an expensive document for the city of Rockport, in my opinion. All those wants and wish list items that are on there, tremendously expensive for the city of Rockport, in my opinion. Don't know how we're gonna pay for that. So in saying that, I have a concern for the confusion maybe that lies with the adaptation or the adoption of the comprehensive plan. I currently live in a residential neighborhood. On page 37 of that document, it says that I'm going to be changed to a commercial property. I don't really appreciate that, and who put that thought in that. I don't want our neighborhood to become a commercial piece of property. That kind of negates the point of me living in a residential house where I live. So, just gonna make it very clear that the adoption, if the city council adopts it, right, you still get the ability to come back and talk to city council and oppose via public notices that we do not want to be a transition from residential to commercial. So just in the fact that my piece of property has transitioned from residential to commercial, my whole block has. I have a 91-year-old neighbor, he would not appreciate that at all. Anyways, so moving on to the next concern. I want item 5.3.1.6 removed. The taxpayer citizens of Rockport should not have to foot the bill for tourists to travel from hotel to gift shops in downtown. Let the business owners get together and hire private transportation, because this is for sure no way of benefit to the regular taxpayers residing that do not own a tourist-associated business. Remove 4.1.3, citizens should not be taking on the burden of developers based on tax abatements. We shouldn't be taking on that. Don't issue out tax breaks. Stop catering to tourism and start catering to residents. Thank you.
Thank you. We spoke last week at City Council meeting with concerns I have. I have those concerns. I came here today to say that I want to register my request for you to either refuse this document or take the very wise comments that Kathy Kane made and consider revising the document with those amendments. But I think at this point in time, this document is not right for our community. We have other dire needs in the way of drainage and flooding we're trying to address. And the other things, I believe, are superfluous. Thank you.
We have Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview Drive.
Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview Drive. The comprehensive plan is really a plan to completely change Rockport as we know it. The plan calls for high density, yet we're flooding. The plan calls for smaller lot sizes of only 2,200 square feet and home sizes of 500 square feet. I assume to crowd more people in, to increase tax revenues for the city, or create more investment opportunities for short-term rentals. Yet we have infrastructure problems and limitations in our power grid, our sewer, water, stormwater runoff. We have to be realistic. Rockport is a sea-level town with lots of wetlands throughout. We are also a natural wildlife area. Any new development has to be sensitive to these facts and designed accordingly. Besides the obvious reasons, I and many others will list our objections to this plan. The main question I have is, why would our elected officials want to completely change what Rockport is today? I know you would not intentionally. You love this town as it is. That is why you graciously serve in the positions you currently have. We have a traditional zoning protections And Rockport is mostly made up of single-family homes on decent-sized lots with trees, inland area to help absorb stormwater runoff. Mixed-use, high-density, small lots and homes just don't represent what we are and have always been. Countless tourists come to Rockport to enjoy the way the Rockport is today. Why change who we are when it's obviously attractive and desirable? Please, please understand this plan is not a proposal, like I've been told by an elected official, the city manager, and a P&Z member. It is okay if you mistakenly thought that future P&Z and council members would have complete control over future development and zoning changes. The fact is, state law clearly states future land use and zoning must follow the comprehensive plan. And there are many, many court cases where developers sued and forced cities to approve zoning and development they didn't wish to. You now know the implications and dangers of passing this plan. It better be what the citizens want, because approving this plan has serious consequences, and you will be limiting the future councils for the next 20 years to decide how we should grow our city. I appreciate the work the city staff and others put into this plan. It has been amended and brought back to the citizens again. The citizens are overwhelmingly telling you that we do not approve of this plan. The city staff works for the citizens, considers us the boss. Who pays your salaries? Elected officials are charged to represent the will of the people. Appointed committee persons are also charged to represent what is best for citizens. The message is clear. Listen to the concerned citizens, aka your bosses, that spoke last week at the public hearing and rejected this plan. Let's have Rockport citizens develop our long-term goals, not students that do not live here. We make stakeholders in this plan of students who have no stake here. Our growth plan for the next 20 years is too serious to have even let it become a school project for some students with lofty and unrealistic ideas of how to grow a city and protected the existing property owners.
Thank you.
An advocate and voice for the children. This was while I was displaced from Hurricane Harvey, living in a garage apartment, rebuilding my home, and had 2 young children, including a 2-year-old at home. I'm not looking for sympathy in stating this. I only do so that you know that people within this community with great passion and love for the community made a commitment to be a part of this planning process for over a year. Proverbs 15:22 says, "Plans fail when there is no counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." I am happy to see so many coming forward to give their input. We welcomed public input during the planning process, and I welcome it now. I think getting input from the community will make for a better overall comprehensive plan for Rockport. First of all, Rockport needs an updated comprehensive plan, and all the resources that went into making this plan come to fruition were gifted to our community through a grant. I appreciate all the experts who came to our small town to share their expertise with us. So I would urge the city officials to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is a 240-page living document, and there's a lot of good in this plan. So we shouldn't start over just because there are a few pages we don't like about the document. The average person is not capable of creating a document of this caliber. If you witness the expertise of many officials that went into it, you would understand. I believe we should make changes based on public input and move forward from there. Secondly, I too questioned the mixed-use zoning within the plan during the planning process. I was told this is a natural transition from business to residential, and it would enhance the small town feel with mom and pop shops on the bottom level. One obstacle we faced during the planning process was how to bring life to downtown after hours, and having residential in this area of town was the solution. Under the current business zoning, someone could potentially live upstairs and have a shop downstairs, so this is a moot point. It is apparent the addition of mixed-use zoning is creating the most dissension amongst the public, so my suggestion is to remove this zoning in its entirety from the comprehensive plan. Thank you so much for your time and consideration and listening to the public input on the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Jeff Platt.
You want me to read my address?
Yes, please.
2201 Prairie Road. Nobody is coming up here and disparaging people for taking their time and working on this. It was during a hurricane, people showed up. We're appreciative of what people did. Our concern is what happened between the time that they came and they showed up and they gave their information and the product that was given to us. Now, we're supposed to be told that, wow, it got a lot of awards, but we don't really know who didn't get an award. Did every plan that submitted a plan get an award? We're also told that we should vote for this because it's free. My grandmother used to say, you get what you pay for. I don't see why the citizens of Rockport can't come together, have communication, this is the time you do it, and lay out a comprehensive plan. 200 and some odd pages is inaccessible for any regular folk in Rockport to read and to understand. The process which I would ask you to go through is a community building process where we come together in a meeting, we lay out some ideas that we think are most important, we get together, and we create a document that's smaller, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but creating a document that's smaller and more accessible. A lot of people talk about that this was a plan done by students, and then some people say, and I know what these plans are like. I lived in Bucharest, Romania for 3 years. My ex-wife was an urban planner. I hung out with the major Romanian urban planners and theorists at the time. I sat by and watched my wife and her friends do these plans. What it was they come into these communities and they use a lot of the lingua, a lot of their thoughts they have that aren't proven in the real world. They're not, because they don't live and they really haven't spent enough time, they're not able to get the type of interaction and information that they need from the folks. Plus, a lot of these students come from professors who think private property is a bad thing. And if you see a lot of this moving out of mixed use, moving to R6 and these properties, it's private property and the ability for somebody to buy property and have understanding what it's going to be is most important. There's a lot of things in this plan that are wrong. The drainage plan is awful. It's already done right now. The drainage plan for maximum is that we work as a sponge and we just soak up the water. It needs to be redone. It needs to be done where it's focused on us.
Up until the flood of earlier this month, I had a handicap ban. But because Rockport's drainage sucks, we were trying to leave to get to safety, and a big truck went by us and hit my $40,000 handicap ban with a big wave of water, and not only killed it for that moment, but permanently destroyed it. We heard today that the insurance company is going to total it, and I'm going to have to come up with $20,000 cash to replace it. So I want to thank all of the staff of the city of Rockport for being so competent as to prevent select streets from flooding, but not my street. Now let me digress and say, a lady who spoke earlier talked about the people of Rockport like we're a bunch of idiots and we're not professionals. Well, I have my bachelor's degree from the University of Buffalo in planning and environmental design. I have my law degree from Georgetown. I've had it for 43 years. I've been a real estate and real estate litigation lawyer for 43 years. There's a fair number of people in City Hall who know that I know a thing or two about this. And surprise, surprise, I was never invited to come to any of these meetings of the secret committees. I was never asked my opinion, so I'm sorry if I offend the one person now by giving my professional opinion. There is absolutely nothing in this plan that complies, or shall I say, is required by Texas law. You can refuse to adopt it entirely, but if you do adopt it, Texas Government Code Section 211.005 requires that you have in the zoning code a means of making the land use designation consistent for every piece piece of property that is designated a certain way. You don't have a mixed-use zoning category, and under section 211.005, you are not allowed to jam, for example, office and apartments onto the same piece of real estate. You need a mixed-use zoning law, or you need to give careful thought to go into what has functioned in a low-level basis already, which is
Thank you, Ms.
the
Shaw.
CUPs.
Very good comment. You've heard several people tonight and last week make comments along the lines that there was no citizen input.
Can we get an introduction?
My name is Kevin Creed, I'm the city manager.
Thank you.
Okay. How you doing? This document, you'll notice, is written on paper. It's not written on stone. It didn't come from Moses. It's a living document. And there is no plan, whether it's this one or anyone in the future or the current one that we have, that is perfect. It has to be reviewed continuously and updated. They always do. This document represents the voice of the people. There were over 200 people involved. There were over two. There were over 200 people, 200 citizens, a citizen stakeholder committee, 15 months, 11 meetings, 3 or 4 charrettes that resulted in this document. Those citizens answered the call, they did what their community asked of them, and they volunteered in good faith. And the most important part of the process is not really citizens having the opportunity to give their input, but the most important part is listening to one another and considering other viewpoints. That's what builds the fabric of community. That's the process, sitting together and having dialogue. If the comprehensive plan is not recommended for approval, then what we're telling these 200 plus neighbors that acted in good faith and spent thousands of hours working on our behalf is, never mind, forget about it. And the next time we make that call and ask them to help us out, they're going to say, why bother? All we need to do is come to the end of the process and yell and scream and stomp our feet. That's the way to get things done. That may work in Washington, that may work in Austin, but that's not what Rockport is. At least I know it's not. So this is not perfect. I don't think anybody will tell you that it is. But it needs to be approved. You need to give it a recommendation for approval to council. It needs to be reviewed and updated. If there are things that you think need to be studied, then you make that recommendation along with it. But we can't chunk it and start over. We can't afford the time, we can't afford the resources. We've got to move now. Thank you.
Kevin, can I ask you a question for clarification? Of the 200 citizens, was it 130 high school kids? Are we counting that in the 200?
Come on now.
Yes.
This is not a question and answer. Thank you.
Point of information, who came and stomped and screamed?
Okay, we're not going to address all that here. What we're here for is to make a recommendation on the comprehensive plan as presented, which already has had the mixed use removed. And I know for myself, I have been on the Planning and Zoning Commission for a very long time. Very often, we meet in here and there is the person asking for a zoning change or whatever, and there's never any citizens that show up and express any opinion until literally it is in their backyard. I realize that this entire plan is in everybody's backyard that is here, including mine, including every member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We give a lot of our time to do this. We get no compensation other than we try to help build the city as best we can. With that in mind, the rules that we use, the variations that we allow or disallow on any given item that comes up for a rezone or change, we do that with the best intentions for everyone, not just for a developer or a private person or a corporation. We try to do this keeping in mind what is best for everybody. What is the best way to grow Rockport? Because as badly as we all want Rockport to stay the sleeping little fishing village, it's just not gonna happen because people come here, they love Rockport, and they wanna stay here. And we welcome them because that's the way we roll. So with that being said, I know that there was an awful lot of time that went into this document. As you said, it's not in stone. It is, it's going to be changed. There are going to be parts of it that are better than other parts. But in my opinion, as chair, I think that we need to go forward with this, and keeping in mind that there probably will be changes down the road. I know there will be changes down the road. That's just part of what a map is. It's like when somebody comes out with a new road map, and then you find out, or a new Google thing, and you find out, well, wait a minute, they left off my street, or they left off this other little part of this little lake, or whatever. You go back and you change it, and you adapt, and you move forward. So that is what I have to say about this. Does anybody else on the commission have anything to say? You good? Kim?
Well, I think we need to clarify, there just seems to be so much concern about that this plan, if it's enacted, will automatically rezone people's property, will automatically change things. And as far as the local government code, I really think we need to clarify that to kind of alleviate some concerns. And I've got 211 and 213 here, and 213 in 005, it specifically states that a map of a comprehensive plan illustrating future land use shall contain the following clearly visible statement. A comprehensive plan shall not constitute zoning regulations or establish zoning district boundaries. It is nothing more than a guide, a roadmap to help us when we look at zoning requests. We look at the future land use, we look at the surrounding land use. It's a guide, it is not hard and fast. And the other,
Ms. Hensley, do you have 213-002?
and 002, I think that's what I was looking for. Yeah,
And Commissioners,
yeah.
the city attorney is actually on Zoom. If you have specific questions about the local government code, she can answer them.
Okay. Yeah, I just think we need to clarify that and alleviate those concerns ahead of time to make sure that, people understand that we are not wholesale rezoning the entire city.
Right, Allison, are you unmuted?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me turn you over here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, the commissioner is correct. This is a guide. the process in Texas Local Government Code 211 would still be followed as far as the public hearings and the notice and the 200-foot requirement and such.
I guess the other question I would have for staff is, because there are a lot of things in here that I have a lot of concerns about, and how soon would we look at doing any revisions, or what process would take place in order to do that, in order to maybe address a lot of the concerns that are in it from not only myself, but a lot of people out here.
Commissioners can identify what you want to address, and we can just start knocking them down. For example, the tree ordinance, we're already working on that.
Okay, would that be another meeting, a separate meeting, or would that be tonight?
Probably separate, because that's a politics and
But
deliberation.
one of us could request that, to
Right,
initiate that process.
It need to be an agenda item for P and Z, and you guys collectively will need to decide what you want to tackle.
I'd like to point out that we've gone through this process since 2018. We have multiple ordinances that are currently under review. We have a draft ordinance for RV parks. We also have received today a draft ordinance for tree and landscape that we brought forward to P&Z, to the council in the very near future. We're going to have a big discussion about drainage tomorrow. We were in the process of working on infrastructure plans as part of our budget and everything. I would like to read section 213-002 of the Texas Local Government Code. It says the governing body of a municipality may adopt a comprehensive plan for the long-range development of the municipality. A municipality may define the content and design of a comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan may include, but is not limited to, provisions on land use, transportation, and public facilities, consist of a single plan or a coordinated set of plans organized by the subject and geographic area and used to coordinate and guide the establishment of development regulations. And that's what this plan does for us. And as we've said over and over and over, this plan, the adoption of this plan, does not constitute rezoning for any property within the city of Rockport. No property will automatically be rezoned by the adoption of this plan. Each development request that comes to the city of Rockport must go through the process. They must come in, they must have a pre-development meeting with the Building and Development Department. They must disclose to us what their intent is for that piece of property. Then we run it through the process. Number one, what is the current zoning? Is the current zoning correct for the development that they're proposing? If it's not, they have to come before the process, go through the P&Z, go to the council, and ask to have that property rezoned. And in that process, there's public notification. Everyone within a 200-foot radius of that property is notified that someone is requesting the property adjacent to theirs to be rezoned. Then we go through the process. If it meets the requirements and the P&Z and the council vote to rezone it, then we look at what type of business is it. Then we go back to some of the things people have been talking about. Do you want something noisy, smelly, light intrusive, and things like that behind your properties? And if the answer is no, then you have the opportunity using the process to come in and voice your concerns and help the P&Z and the council make the decision on each development. There are no backdoor deals. People don't come in and go behind closed doors and make development deals. It doesn't work that way. Each development has to come in and go through the entire process. Our goal is to work with someone, if they own a piece of property and they would like to develop it within our city, as long as it's within the guidelines and meets the rules and regulations, it can be approved. It's not automatically approved, but it can be approved. And part of that process is citizen input. Everything that we do has to come before the citizens in a public meeting. We don't go behind closed doors and shake someone's hand and say, welcome to Rockport, you can develop XYZ Corporation, you can put up your housing project, you can put up your apartment complex. It must be done in a public meeting in front of our citizens.
four opportunities for public input during that process.
I have a question, I'm sorry. It's not really a question, it's more clarification for everyone here, so they can understand. Mixed use was taken out of the comprehensive plan. Now, what is that individual, since it was taken out, those people who own that type of property, will they be able to still come to the council or plan and zoning and still request for a zoning change? Yes. I did the answer, I just wanted y'all to know.
And I
Yes.
guess that's what I want to clarify too. Any reference to mixed use has been completely removed.
The mixed use designation along the South Rockport area and the Fulton Beach Road area adjacent to Harbor Oaks has been taken out. The future land use map, if you look at the future land use map, it is not a detailed map that says that this plat of land, you know, Aransas CAD number 001-2 is blue because it's not, that's not what that future land use map is. It's an overview of our community, and that the colors represent what could be future land use.
I think Mr. Karuth was, and I see y'all talk, I think Mr. Karuth had stated earlier that it was taken out throughout everywhere.
The statement was taken out, sorry, Kathy came. The statement was it was taken out of the plan.
Completely.
And now you're saying it's only taken out for Harbor Oaks and South Rockport.
Right.
That is two different things, and I can tell you, as a citizen that's lived here for 4 years, my family's been here for 80, you can't be fuzzy. Fuzzy gets you lawsuits. I served during a lawsuit. I know what that means. And when you remain fuzzy, you've opened yourself up to lawsuits. And I can get you to the people that we resolved that issue and what we had to live through in Sunnyvale because of a comprehensive plan. It cannot be fuzzy.
So, like she said, is it gone or is it just partially gone?
Where is
And
it?
as we mentioned earlier, mixed-use portions that were removed from South Rockport and that area on Fulton Beach Road and Trailer.
So where is it left?
Is it Villa Maria, the Marias? Behind Lakewood, what area?
The remaining areas on the map that were there before.
Enterprise, we can't read the map. We've asked for street level detail, we can't read it.
So the land behind Lakeview, is it gone from there?
Yeah, do me a favor, when you're speaking, you just go ahead and just come up to the
Yeah.
podium and speak, please.
On the record.
Andrew Kane, 2106 Lakeview Drive, that's why it's important to me. When you say the land along Trailer and you say the land along FBR, there's multiple areas I'm confused about. The Villa Marias, that adjacent 17 homes in Harbor Oaks, is it gone completely from there? Because online it's still there.
We got Trailer in.
It's between Trailer and Lakeview. It's Gary Gilbert's land. 17 lots of Harbor Oaks on Crescent Circle, and Lakeview abut that property. It's currently R1. So it's gone? It's not. Well, yeah.
If it's still R1, it's R1.
No, but is it gone as mixed use? Is mixed use gone from that property, the Villa Marias?
I'm not certain where you're talking about.
She said it's gone, they know this is gone completely, and now we're not sure.
Can I make a clarifying motion that we remove any reference whatsoever in any part of the comprehensive plan that references mixed use?
Even where there's existing mixed use?
There is none.
It's a new category.
Doesn't exist.
Is that be the recommendation for being?
Move on.
Yeah, I've been around a lot of mixed-use development and commercial construction, and always everything I've been around goes from business to mixed use, never goes from residential to mixed use. Business to mixed use is pretty easy. That's an easy sell. But from residential to mixed use, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So, when we make our recommendation to city council, which is what we do, we're not here tonight to approve or disapprove
this plan, comprehensive plan, what we are here tonight to do is to make a recommendation to city council. So is there further discussion from?
Yeah, could you change that wording in there from business to mixed use and not just as an open mixed use opportunity? And the other question I had was, there's a reference in the plans that discusses changing R1 down to 400 square feet. Is that correct?
5.
Less than
500?
5.
Yeah, and what is it now?
60.
And then there's a density factor to that too. So you can put a number of smaller places of greater density right in with places of larger square foot with larger density, is that, or with less density? The lot sizes are larger.
7,000 and 2,200.
Yeah, so is that something that, you know, my reality has always been, I take a roll of plans and go in and say, I want to do this, and they pull out the planning and zoning, or the zoning, they pull out the uniform business code, and they say either yes, you can do it, or yes, you can't do it. So my question is, does this document change any of those realities for a guy coming in, or if you want to change something that exists now, it has to come back through this process?
Goes through the process, nothing changes with our one zone.
We can't, people on the phone cannot hear you.
Yes, nothing in the process changes. If he comes in with the rural plans, just like he said, we put it down, we go through the process, we determine that it fits on the lot properly according to the R1 regulations. We are not changing any of those things. The setback requirements, the minimum square footage, nothing changes for R1 designation, or any other designation for that matter. There's nothing in here that constitutes a zoning change for anything within the city of Rockport.
But a developer can ask for it.
Future land use map, then.
Yeah, get rid of it.
How does the future land use map come into play?
The future land use map is a guide, and the future land use map was developed several years ago. Is this working? No. It was. The future land use map was developed several years ago, and the idea of a future land use map is to identify the different corridors around our community where, I guess you could say, residential and commercial properties could be. Again, it is just a map. When you look at the map, everyone knows our business corridors, 2165, 3036, the bypass, business 35, the bypass, frontage roads and everything else. Those are the areas where most likely our businesses are going to exist. And then we transition into residential areas. As I stated in the council meeting the other night, we recently had a developer come in right on 2165 for a 55 and older community. And he wanted to zone the front portion of his property B1, which is business. And we had a tremendous amount of opposition. Lots of people came and spoke in opposition to designating the area along 2165 adjacent to his 55 and older community as B1. And we talked to that developer. The developer came before the P&Z and then before the city council, and we downgraded his zoning request from B1, which is any business. So any business could go in along the 2165 corridor. And we downgraded to an R6 or an R7, where only certain commercial properties could go adjacent to the residence that he's proposing to build. And that's the way the process works.
Don't set us up for
What
that.
you're saying is all of the future use tracts are currently zoned something.
Yes.
And to change them to align with the future use possibility, it'd have to come back through this process.
It goes through the process.
So it's not a carte blanche, well, we're gonna follow some future
Yeah.
use map.
Unless you get sued.
No, let me clarify that because it's wrong. We, as far
as far as density is concerned, we currently have minimum lot sizes. If we approve the comprehensive plan, it recommends considering 2,200 square foot lots and 500 square foot houses. It recommends it. That developer on trailer, the FBR, the one that's this development, he's waiting for you to approve this because he's gonna have recommendations from you, city council, and the comprehensive plan to recommend and allow 2,200 square foot lots. You're putting it as a recommendation. He's gonna get approved, he'll be back. That plan has not been pulled from you, he's delayed coming back. You're recommending it.
Mr. Quinn, the lawyer's online. Can you clarify some information for us?
Allison, are you unmuted?
I'm unmuted.
Okay.
Didn't quite hear the last comment was. I was trying.
I think if I could interpret it correctly, that if we adopt a higher density, then we're subjecting ourselves to possible lawsuits if we don't approve any developments that don't follow that.
Through higher densities. Where?
If the comprehensive plan includes high density, and then we get development plans.
Your comprehensive plan is a city's police power, and you can set your plan as you see fit, and that allows for up to a certain kind of density. That's fine. I'm going to be kind of limited in my advice here because we're in open session, but I'll just say that to the extent it may already be in progress, the grandfathering of Texas Local Government Code 245 can come into play. Anything more than that, I'm going to ask we go into closed.
There's your answer.
It states in here that right now y'all have 500 feet.
Yeah.
Y'all are also not including
Ms.
the
Fulton,
workforce housing.
Can you please come up here, please?
Thank you. In this plan, it states that the 500 feet is the smallest size. I want to reiterate what we learned in all of these sessions. Our workforce here, people that cannot afford homes here, these large homes where these people live that don't want these other micro homes near them, $76,000 is what was determined that they can afford to buy. We would like to see families not having to live in RV parks and actually living in a home and not forcing our workforce housing to live in apartments. So you have to consider people that are less fortunate than some of us and give them an opportunity the same way each one of us has had. That's all I want to say whenever you'll talk about not having these small units. I understand the property is probably not the best place for these, but you have to consider that the majority of the people that live here and work here are minimum wage to maybe $15 an hour. The rest of us are fortunate. We may work out of town, we may go other places. We're a tourism town, and those are the people that work for us.
May I speak as somebody who is low income?
Can you come over here?
Can you afford it?
I guess I'm one of the poor people who does not want to have other poor people live next to me, which is completely false. What we're talking about is, if you look at any place that has gone smaller than, first of all, why are we recommending something we don't want? Number one. But if you look at all of these places, it doesn't make sense, does it, to even put it in there? If you look at all these places, South Florida, all these places that have gone to smaller density, where else? San Francisco, LA, where does all of their folks live? Their folks live someplace else and they bus in. The idea of creating more dense, more compact housing does not benefit low, moderate income people like myself, unless you live in a communist country and they're going to give you an apartment for free. Because you will not be able to afford the land. And I do not see what is wrong with living in an RV. I don't live in an RV personally, but I don't see what's wrong with living in an RV. And I really find it offensive that people we have a lot of people who live in RVs. That people come in and they talk bad about those people who live in RVs like it's something that they don't want to live there. These people choose to live there. And once again, if we don't want something, why are we recommending it? If we don't want a resiliency plan based upon renewable energy, why are we recommending it? It just makes better sense to, if we want something, let's get what we want, not what we pay for.
I'll just say that from city workforce, most of my employees can't afford my house here.
Oh, that hurts.
Did the attorney answer the question?
Give them a raise.
She said, so that was a no?
Okay, if everyone could just, one at a time, Kevin?
I'll say again that this document is what people, our citizens said they wanted, and we have to have different types of housing to address the needs of different people. And allowing higher density and smaller structures is one way to have affordable housing.
Commission,
If you want to come up, if you
So, Steve Ryan, 23 at the Shoreline Court. My experience with comprehensive general plans or general plans is that sets the basis for which zoning comes forth. So that typically, if you have the resources, you would make a comprehensive general plan, and then you would immediately move to make all the zoning consistent with the general plan. But at the very least, if you don't have those resources, any change that comes to the zoning must be consistent with the general plan. So when, I'm not sure what your name is, but when you described the developer come in, you didn't mention the general plan. Well, then why were we here? I mean, it's like it doesn't get involved, but it gets involved very importantly. If you say mixed use is in there, the mixed use is in there and you won't get it out. I'll die with mixed use in there. And I think it's very important that we have what's in there, what we want, and you can't just poo-poo it, let's pass it because you can change it anytime you want. No, if you want to change it in the future, you have to amend the general plan, then change the zoning, then do the deal. You just can't ignore it. I mean, we wouldn't even be here. So it's important that it's right and that we don't include things we don't want.
Mike, could you respond to what he said, please?
In what way would you like me to respond? I don't disagree with what the gentleman said, and when a developer comes in, of course we have the existing guidelines and the existing plans. They have to meet those requirements when they come in. I just assumed that was an understood. I'm not just saying that they come in and we get to have a negotiation, they do whatever they want. We already have rules and regulations in place. We have a plan. If we adopt this plan will be the guide for what we do when a developer comes in and put them through the process to gauge their project and determine whether it's approved or not.
When a new guy comes in, he's got two choices. He can be consistent with existing zoning that you haven't had time to change, or he can be consistent with the general plan and then ask you to change the zoning to be consistent with the general plan. There's no other option that you can take.
That's right.
And so don't put it in the general plan unless that's where you want to head. And we don't want general or mixed use or any reduction in residential. And you don't make more affordable homes by eliminating residential zones.
can I say something? Because it seems like we're going to get more of the same talk over and over again. Let's maybe get y'all to go ahead and discuss what y'all want to do.
Yeah.
And then once we go through this discussion, some people can make some of the remarks, but let's try to get the ball rolling here.
Yeah, we're kind of just going over the same material over and over. We're not going to please everyone.
I understand that, we're doing our best up here.
So is it out or not?
Wait, can I mean, I'm someone that was on a council that did accomplish.
We understand it, yes, we've heard that, and we recognize that, and we appreciate that input. Thank you.
Ms. Kane, can you please sit down? Thank you.
So, I mean, at some point, we can go over this until next Wednesday, and it's not gonna, Planning and Zoning Commission has to deliberate and act on amendments to the City of Rockport Code of Ordinances relating to adopting an amended comprehensive plan for the City of Rockport. That's what's on our agenda. At this point, I'm gonna open it up to any of the other commissioners that wish to say something, and then hopefully we can go forward with the motion. I recognize more.
For clarification, Mr. Kane's asking for clarification. If I'm understanding correctly, is mixed use out in the entire document? That's for you. Is that what you're asking?
Well, she motioned for it over here.
Just that you. So is that?
I think y'all have.
No, that's not what is presented to you tonight.
So
That's Rockport and that area by Full Beach Road and Trailer,
which area?
There's 2 areas.
southwest corner.
So, can we or can we not make a motion, because this is part of our recommendation, that be Kim's motion, which is to pull it completely from the document?
Yes.
My concern is we don't have a mixed use in our zoning now, and frankly, I understand the concern, unless I'm missing something. We kind of did things backwards. Put it in a plan, but we don't have a mixed use designation.
We do not.
We do not currently have a mixed use designation.
Would it not make better sense to, when we reevaluate the plan, if we at some point in the future come up with a mixed-use zoning designation, then we can entertain modifying the plan to accommodate that zoning?
Is it possible to even commit to saying before we grant mixed use to somebody, that we will come up with a definition for what that means to Rockport before we grant that to somebody? Could we put?
Well, we can't grant it because we don't have it.
Well, that's the point.
Right. So it needs to be addressed, definitely. There needs to be a definition in the zoning ordinance.
If I may,
Like,
the commission can certainly approve in part plan, save for the areas in the future zoning map that are designated mixed use, and direct staff for planning to reevaluate that section and bring it back for a recommendation following the adoption of the other areas that are not so intended.
No, no, fuzzy.
National approval or recommendation.
go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, you already made a recommendation, and if you so choose to make a recommendation to the council that you want mixed use taken out of the plan, that is your option as the P and Z. You make a recommendation that you feel is right.
There's some other terminology in there that I know is also causing some heartburn with a lot of people, myself included, is the idea of colon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we need more than one motion for each one of these changes, or can we do them all under one motion?
You can do it in one motion, and, I did today, went through and read the section of the plan that addresses co-living. And again, if you've looked at it and you understand it and you disagree with it, you have the ability to come in and say, we disagree with this, we recommend that it be taken out. The idea of co-living, if you think about it, if you're in larger cities and everything else, it's like it'd be like a
Tent city.
not necessarily a tent city, but like an apartment complex with amenities like washateria and stuff that are shared by the residents and things like that. And it doesn't mean that, you know, I'm gonna knock on your door and say, hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to live with you. You know, I want to cohabitate with you. That's not what it's about, but it's a facility where there are shared amenities, where each family has their living and sleeping and kitchen quarters, but there are other amenities in the complex that everyone shares, such as a washateria, game room, things like that.
Hotel?
Boarding
house.
No, we're not discussing all of this again between everyone. This discussion is
But again,
between city
you
staff.
look at it, you make a recommendation to go to the council and say we would reject the plan as a whole, or we accept the plan with these recommended changes.
Put that in the form of a motion.
That would be my motion. Well, I don't know, are we done discussing?
I think so. I don't think there's anything new come out here that we haven't already gone through 15 times.
And one person online that's raising their hand.
Okay?
Since I'm sorry, go ahead, it's your.
No.
Go ahead.
He's saying there's someone online that wants to speak? I don't see anybody there.
My thought is, if we stop questions from these individuals, let's just stop questions totally.
Right, that's what I'm
We'll get back and.
Yeah.
He lowers his hand.
Okay. Yes, Warren?
For confirmation to the city manager, Mike, if there was a proposal for co-living type of development, that again would still come to P and Z in specifics, then the mayor and council, the entire permit process, nothing automatic just because the plan designates an area.
Nothing in the plan constitutes zoning, nothing in the plan constitutes permission. In other words, I can't read the plan and say, well, your plan gave me permission to do this. That's not what the plan is for. You know, it's a guideline, people bring in their proposals, it's set on the table and gone through the process with each development.
So do you want to make a motion?
So, motion to amend the plan, to remove,
Accept the plan.
accept the plan with the changes, with the removal of any references to mixed use or co-living.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the planning and zoning commission? Okay, we're gonna do, individual.
Madam Chair, just before we do the roll call, I need clarification. So the recommendation is going to be to pull the mixed use from the dock and co-living, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the map?
Let's finish this, then y'all can play.
That's, keep in mind, as I said before, we are recommending to city council. We are not, we can't tell city council what to do. City council makes the ultimate decision, but our recommendation tonight, which will go to city council, to the next council meeting, would be this motion, like Mary just said. You have a motion, you have a second.
Okay,
Barry, you want to do the roll call?
Yes. Chair Davis?
Aye.
Aye for removal, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Member Hassinger?
Aye for approval.
Okay. Member Hesley?
Aye for approval.
Mr. Rester?
Aye.
Okay. And Mr. Young?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you all, we appreciate